Okay, that all looks good. All right, so let me try to share this really quickly into the group. While everyone joins. There we go. Okay. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Nicole. So pardon my tardiness by a little bit. It's crazy town at our house. Okay, this is awkward, but it's gonna have to do. Oh, you know what? Usually I scoot up closer just a second here. I don't think I need the mouse for anything. Now I feel really low. That's okay. This is weird. My kids broke this thing like right here. This, you can't see it. It's the pulley out drawer thing. They broke it. And so now it doesn't sit level, it slides. So that's why it's awkward trying to figure this out. Okay. This stuff might fall down when I'm talking. Hopefully that's okay. Hi, Shara. How are you? Okay. So I think that's going to work. So I wanted to do this topic. I actually thought of this. I was laying in bed this morning and I was like, what can I talk about? And of course, I'm thinking about marriage because marriage is on the brain. So I decided I wanted to talk about being a helpmeet and not a hindrance. And this is kind of goes along with being self-reliant after you get married. So I've been wanting to talk about this topic for a certain amount of weeks. And forgive me if I cannot form my sentences because I think I'm having like 50 mini strokes a day in my brain right now. And literally jumbled words comes out of my mouth sometimes. And my kids just laugh at me because they think it's hilarious. I don't think it's funny, but I think I just have too much that I'm trying to remember and think about right now. So hopefully I can string along coherent thoughts today. We'll see what happens. But, I'm going to talk about being a helpmeet and not a hindrance because this has to do with so much after we get married. And I want to touch on some areas where we can really help our husbands. I have definitely not been perfect in this area, but I've grown a lot since being married over 22 years ago. I also want to put out a disclaimer, which I have to do quite often nowadays. Many things I'm going to be talking about applies to how my husband and I do things. He happens to like his wife being independent because it allows him to live life and get things done that he needs to get done. Not all husbands are this way. Some might want for you to wait them to tell you how to live life, what to do around the house, etc. Mine is not like that. So what works for me might not work for you. However, I found that normal functioning men, for the most part, prefer the same things. So if something won't work in your marriage, by all means, don't do it. This channel is to encourage women to fulfill their God-given roles, not to encourage you to go against your husband in any way and make his life more difficult. That is not the whole idea of today's show. Today's show is about being a help and not a hindrance. As always, balance is the key. I think that if wives would get back to making their husbands their number one priority in life, it would change their home life and their personal life for the better. So I have noticed a trend, and I think it's the Zoomer generation, where obviously we're looking at one of the most self-centered generations that our nation has ever put out. And as such, Zoomers have this overwhelming mentality that everything should be easy, nothing should be hard, and it's just unrealistic. When God formed Adam in the garden, he gave him a job. As soon as he was done creating him, he gave him a job. Men were designed to work, and men were designed to work hard. After the fall of man, there was a curse. And part of the curse was that Adam had to work hard and toil and sweat. So laboring hard, physical labor, being tired, working hard, working 2 jobs, working 3 jobs to provide for your family, it is just part of life. And I feel like Zoomers are taking that regular part of life that generations ahead of us have had to do. Men have had to get up early in the morning, work till late at night, sweat, toil, hard times. And Zoomers are now saying, that's not fair. That's not right. I shouldn't have to do this. What's a way to make it easier on me? And I think that's a shame. As women, we can contribute to that mindset, or we can encourage our husbands to do better. And part of that is by being a help in all the different areas that I'm going to talk about, because as wives, we can be a drain on our husbands. We can nag him to death. We can berate him. We can just expect him to spend 24/7 with us, which is not realistic at all. It's not realistic. Men were designed to work. Men were designed to be gone most of the day, and they need to be, because it gives them purpose. They need to be doing physical things. They need to be doing physical activity. When my husband went full-time at the church, he knew he would be sitting a lot during the day. So he made it a point to start doing physical things. He loves yard work. That's like his tension releaser. He loves yard work. He loves chopping down trees. Anyone that knows my husband knows that. He loves working out at the gym. He's been doing CrossFit and things like that. So he knew he had to remain physical, because it's not natural for a man not to be doing physical activity. So I'm talking about, as women, how can we encourage our husband in their God-given role of being a hard worker, being a provider, not nagging him to death, not expecting him to spend every waking minute of his day with us, because it's not normal for a relationship. It's not, and it's not even realistic at all. So anyways, Kirsten, you're funny. So Kirsten said, my husband's over here making hand signs that he doesn't want me to be independent. Then don't be independent. So if he wants you to be completely dependent on him, then that is his prerogative. So my husband is not like that. My husband would roll over and die if I expected him to tell me everything to do, what to do, when to do it. Yeah, he would roll over and die. Okay, my mic seems quiet. Let me turn up my mic a little bit. Does that help? Maybe I need to get it up too on nothing. I'm trying to get it closer to my mouth. This is a very awkward setup. Let me find another book. Okay, that'll work. All right. Is that better? Hopefully that's better. Okay, so what are some ways that we can be a help in the home? All right, so number one, I truly believe that all women, and the way that I am, I guess my girls are probably going to need to marry someone a lot like my husband, because I am raising them to be this way. I'm raising them to be self-sufficient. And this is not a feministic mindset. Okay, this is all, the reason I am raising my girls this way is because this will help their husbands eventually. I truly believe. I want him to marry someone who's I want whoever they marry. I want my future son-in-laws to marry someone who's intelligent, someone who knows how to learn new skills, someone who knows skills already, someone who, if she was put into a situation where she was by herself, she would know what to do. She wouldn't panic, and she wouldn't freak out, and she wouldn't be taken advantage of. So keep in mind, this is all for areas where she can help her husband out in. So Ron, you're funny. So anyways, learn skills around the house. You know what? And if any men want to pipe in and say, I don't want my wife to do that, then please, I want to hear if men want their wives to be self-reliant in some areas, or if you would rather her just be the damsel in distress every minute of every day, relying solely on you for all things, to be rescued. It was so cute. Kelly was actually telling me yesterday, she was like, Mom, God made girls pretty and God made boys handsome, and the boys rescue the girls. And I said, yeah, you're right, Kelly, they do. So I'm not promoting a feminist mindset by talking about these things. Okay. I am all for you fulfilling your God-given role of being a helpmeet to your husband. So anyways, learn skills around the home. This could be simple fixes. I've learned a lot of things. My dishwasher has gone out before, and I have Googled, I have YouTubed many things. I have YouTubed how to clean out the drain thingy, the drain pump under my washing machine, and that saved hundreds of dollars. And having the repairman come out, look at it, have to fix it. I have Googled how to, when an error code comes up on the dishwasher, Abby and I both have done this. We have Googled how to fix it, and we have fixed it when we can. And I have Googled, what else have I? I've Googled like everything when it comes to stuff around the house. I'm trying to think of examples. How to patch a hole. I've actually patched a hole in my drywall. I did all of that. And part of the reason for me is my husband is a very busy man. I don't like keeping a running list of these little piddly things that I could figure out myself. And I knew I was totally capable of that. Now, when we remodeled our bathroom, did I do the plumbing? Absolutely not. Did I do the electricity? Absolutely not. I know my limits. Okay. So, but the little skills I have just determined to learn them. When I was a younger bride, I really we didn't have like smartphones and internet when I was first married, like we do now. And so I didn't do as much of this, and I would just have a running honey-do list, and that got old. I felt like I didn't like nagging my husband about the same things over and over. And he was a very, very busy man. And I'll explain a little bit about when we were first married in a bit. I guess he's always been busy, but it was when he was doing correspondence college and working towards his bachelor's in theology, it was pretty crazy. And working full-time at Walmart, working part-time at the church, it was pretty crazy. So I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I make the small decisions around the home. So if a wall needs to be patched, I do it. If a wall needs to be painted, I do it. If something needs to be fixed, I call the repairman. One of the things I have made policy in my home is we tend to buy new appliances because if we can, we tend to buy new appliances through an appliance store here in town, and we always get the warranty. The warranty is $90, and we use it every single time. A lot of times, multiple times, because most appliances are not built to service 10 people in a home. So most appliances are for like 4 people in a home or 6 people in a home at the most. So for us, we overuse our appliances. And so I always get the home warranty. It's always worth it for me. I research and find the best deals, and the times that I have not, I have regretted it. And my dryer is case in point. I did not research that enough. I just went on a whim, and I bought a horrible brand that, since I have researched it, it's the worst dryer I've ever had. We've had the repair guys out 4 or 5 times for it, and I've only had it 2 or 3 years. It's awful. It's a Samsung, if you want to know. Never get a Samsung dryer. I should have researched that more. So with my washer, when I went to go get that, I do not have matching washer and dryers. I don't care. They're in my basement. Like, I care about that. And so when I went in, it's a Maytag or a Whirlpool, one of the two. Those two are going to be some of the best brands. If you can get a Speed Queen, which I just found out that my local appliance store is now selling Speed Queens, and I wish I would have known that. They started shortly after I bought my washer, but I got the warranty on that, got the warranty in the dishwasher. It was just fixed this last week, completely free to us. We paid the $90. That more than covers the first visit, the first repair visit. The drain pump had gone out. They had to replace that. It was totally covered under the warranty. So, and that's so funny, Ron, because when I was first married, I was terrified of killing spiders. He said, the day my wife kills a bug without my help is the day she is self-reliant. It's so funny. And then Rachel said, just today I told my husband I'm tough when I want to be. Sometimes it's easier to be a damsel in distress when he's around. Have you seen the reels where it's like me when my husband's home and she's like trying to open a can and can't get it open, so he's helping her. And then it shows when he's not home, she's like lugging around furniture. And, that's kind of how we are. Sometimes it is nice to have a husband help us out. But when I was first married, I refused to kill spiders. I was deathly afraid of them. And it got to the point where my husband finally just started refusing to kill them. And so I just killed them because it was annoying. We had a lot of spiders, and it would be annoying if he was in bed having to get up and kill it. So now I kill spiders, no problem. I kill every type of bug, no problem. Not a problem to kill them. So that's what we do. That's my way of making things easier around the home. I always buy the warranties. I get the repair guy there. I try to stay on top of repairs. Now, there are some jobs I can't do, like this past week. Wishful thinking, never think this. I was thinking, oh, wow, everything in our house is actually working right now. And our vans are all working and everything's working. And I walk in to go do a load of laundry in the washer, and our washer goes into the sump pump hole, and half of it goes into a drain field and half of it goes outside. And the sump pump wasn't working. It had overflowed and was like overflowing into my basement, like the gray water. And that is one job I could not do. So my husband bought a new sump pump on the way home, and he installed it because you have to hook it up to the pipe, and it was nasty. And who wants to dig in the muck and grime, and it stunk. And I didn't want to do that. So that is a job he did. But, fixing the hot water heater, he's done that multiple times. Fixing the well pump, he's done that. So if it's a job that's over my skill level, I'll know it. But if it's a job that I'm capable of doing, I'll grab the hammer and a nail or whatever. I'll grab the paintbrush. I'll grab I'll patch the hole, whatever it is, just to help him out because he's already busy enough. One way that I try to be a help is I try to beautify the home within my budget. And you can do this cheaply. You can get a lot of cute stuff at Goodwill, thrift stores. To paint a wall, we just painted our kitchen. We finally patched up my hole that had been there for months and months and months. And Abby decided that it was time to do it 5-6 days before the wedding. So I said, okay, fine, do it. But it was about $80. And the room looks so much better because of it. It brightened up the whole room. So find ways to beautify the home within your budget. And then I think an important thing for men is keeping a clean home. I know it's important for my husband. I know my boys like the house being clean. I think anyone does. I think kids like living in order and cleanliness. So we do try. I've always tried hard since the day I got married to keep my house clean. And I know my husband prefers it. And I want our home to be peaceful. And I want it to give off a peaceful feeling and a comfortable feeling. And it's really hard to get that when you're living in dirt and grime and nastiness and 5-day-old dishes and food on the floor and bugs in the house and grime on the walls and the windows. I don't want that. So I try to keep it smelling good. I try to keep it very clean and picked up. I think most men like that. Number 9 for being a helpmeet, food, and food. Find out what meals he likes and make them. One of the meals that my husband absolutely despises, detests, and loathes is spaghetti. So I will try to make spaghetti on the days I know he will be gone. Or whenever he goes on a trip and he'll be gone for a week, we'll make all the meals that he doesn't eat. Lasagna, spaghetti, basically anything with pasta and cheese, he refuses to touch. So I'm not his mother. I'm not going to be like, you will sit down and eat your food, sir, so help me. That is not my job. My job is to make his life better and provide the food that he likes. So oftentimes, even if I try a new meal and he doesn't like it, I'll kind of check that off in my mental checklist. Okay, he doesn't like this one. But then if he really likes the meal, okay, that's a winner. That's going on the menu, so different things like that. I think the old saying is true. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I know it's true with my husband and my boys. Even Jason asked me, I have to say Jason now because Tommy just moved out today. So he moved to Clinton today. Little sad, but I'm too happy for him to be really overwhelmingly sad. But Tommy pretty much ate everything I made. Jason's a little bit pickier of an eater, but he'll actually go to Walmart, buy the stuff for it, and come home and say, can you please make this? So I will. And he really appreciates that. Basically anything pizza, buffalo chicken dip, tacos. He just asked if I could make stuff for tacos on Saturday. So I did. So I think every mom wants to please her son and every wife wants to please her husband. So A good way to do that is finding the meals that he likes. Teach your kids to keep the house clean, because they're going to, after they get married, a lot of their habits that they form in your home is going to carry over. One of the reasons I'm probably the way I am about cleanliness is because my mom was. It was very important when I was growing up. I grew up in a very clean home, and I appreciate that. I really do. And yes, she went a little overboard sometimes. And yes, I probably go a little overboard sometimes. I've learned to tone it down through the years. But I think I would have rather had that than living in squalor and filthiness and dirtiness. So you are the manager of your home, not your husband. I mean, that's how it is. If your husband wants to oversee every little thing, that's fine, I guess. But most men, from what I've observed, most men are not like that. They don't care how you decorate. They don't care what color you pick for the walls. They just want to eat. They don't necessarily want to be in charge of the menu. You know, that's kind of the woman's genre. So I try to only go to him with big concerns. There's a roof leak. The sump pump went out. We don't have hot water. You know, different things like that. I try to go to him only with the big concerns. He doesn't really want to know. I don't know. He doesn't even really want to like see a menu for the week. You know, he just wants to show up and eat. So he's not concerned about that. And then if you have a budget, stay within that budget. Don't put more stress on him by wildly spending his money. And there are actually a lot of wives that do this. We've seen it through the years where the husband is a very hard worker. He's working his tail end off, just trying to make ends meet. And his wife is out gambling. Even we've seen it. His wife is out running up the credit card. He'll get that credit card paid off, and she goes out and she buys a whole new furniture set and runs up credit somewhere else. You know, Proverbs 31 has a lot to say about that. And it has a lot to say about how, you know, your husband trusts in you. The Proverbs 31 woman, her husband trusted in her. And I think a big part of trusting in your wife comes down to financial things. Are you good with money? If he gives you a budget, are you good with staying within that budget? Since I teach piano on the side, one thing that I've tried to do is we have a weekly grocery budget. And if I go over at any point, which I do sometimes, it's hard to make that much money, even now, stretch to feed as many people as we have. What I'll do is I'll transfer some of my piano money into the regular budget to just cover that. And that way he doesn't have to worry about coming up with that extra 50 or coming up with that extra 75 or whatever that I overspent on food. So that's one way that I try to help out. I am very cautious with using the credit card. We do have one, but it has a very low balance right now, where we try to keep it very low or at zero. So I know he works that the credit card bugs him. I know that. So I try to only do it if it's a total necessity. If I know it has to go on there, that's the only time I will. And a lot of times I'll even ask him, do I do debit for this? Do I put this on the credit card? What do you want me to do? So that is one thing I do ask him, because I know it's important to him. But let's talk about kids. So let me see what the chat is going on. Kirsten said, my little girls and I carry spiders out in cups. I guess I'm independent. You are. Tell your husband, say, sorry, David, I am independent because I carry out spiders in cups. Yes, I really think men they want a place to come home when they've worked hard, especially if they're working in the heat and they're working in the dirt and the grime. They just want a really peaceful, chill, clean place to come, put their feet up, go take a shower, get all clean, and then relax. I think most men want that. And as women, we can provide that for them. So, all right. Yes. Okay, so let's talk about the kids in general. This is a mindset. I think we have a lot of dads that help out a lot more than the previous generations. And in some ways, it's a good thing. But in other ways, we have to be careful as moms not to get too lazy in this area. Especially, and I want to say this, especially if you are a stay-at-home mom. If God has enabled your husband to work a full-time job that covers all your bills, and you are you are granted that privilege, to be able to stay at home all day. The majority of the child rearing lies on you. And you're going to be doing most of the discipline. You are going to be doing most of the correcting. You are going to be doing most of the instructing. And I truly believe that a lot of the success or failure of homeschooling, of raising good kids, it does lie a lot on the mom. Why do you think there's so much mom guilt? We have a lot of mom guilt. We're always laying there thinking, how can I do better at this? How can I do better at this? I lost my temper again. What is wrong with me? How can my child's struggling in this area? How do I help it? And while our husbands are blissfully snoring away. That's just how it is. Their job, their part of the job, their main part is providing for their family. And the Bible has much to say about men that don't provide. So it's a very important thing for a man to be a good provider. So their main job is provision. So we need to realize that our main job is going to be revolving around the children and the home. That is our goal. That is our life's mission. That is our God-given role. So don't pester your husband about it at work. And if he can't, especially if he's not in a position where he can come home and help you, if he is in a position, even if he works at home, that would never fly in our house. Our house is too small. I don't think my husband could ever work from home, but I've known of couples who the husband does work at home, and it's pretty much a rule. It's like he's not there, so just because he's working at home doesn't mean that you can go in the room whenever you want, pester him whenever you want. And of course, I guess that depends on your husband. If he wants you to come in the room all hours of the day, then go for it. But I'm just saying in my experience, that would not work. And he doesn't like it when, even he's here at the church working, he's studying, and a lot of times if I try calling him or bugging him, it interrupts his train of thought. And then he loses it and he doesn't remember what he was studying. He doesn't remember what he was thinking about. So I have pulled out the big guns. I like to call him the big guns. I have before when situations have come up at home where I feel like dad needs to step in. I have called him and had him talk to the kids on the phone, my older kids. It's mainly the older kids. The younger kids, their problems are easy. I'm telling you, younger kids' problems are easy. Older kids and adult kids, their problems are a lot more complex. And if I feel like it's over my head or they need a stern rebuke from dad, that's when I'll call. But it's very rare. That doesn't happen very often, maybe a few times a year. So teach the kids when dad comes home, it's mom's turn to talk to them, and then they can talk to him. A lot of times, especially when my kids were younger, I would send them in another room to play. When my husband got home, we'd sit on the couch and talk for a few minutes, just one-on-one about our day, about what happened during the day. I wanted the kids to see that mommy and daddy's relationship was really important and that they would have their time with him, but mommy needed to talk to him first. So that's what I kind of did with my kids when they were younger. And even now, still, they're older. I'll be like, okay, everyone leave. I need to talk to your dad. Or we'll go in a room and shut the door and tell them we need to talk. Okay, go away. So the homeschooling lies on you primarily. So do a good job with it. You know what? You get this privilege, again, of staying home, not having to work, not having to provide for the family. That's all on your husband's shoulders. So you do the best that you can. Don't spend your time on your phone all day. Don't lollygag around. Actually be serious about it, because the majority of the homeschooling lies on you. And just remember, when there's order and structure, the home will be more peaceful. And overall, when it comes to the home, we want to make it easier on our husbands. We want to provide a haven of rest. We want to provide a peaceful place for them. We don't want it to be a war zone. We don't want it to be crazy and chaotic and nuts. And it stresses people out when the house is total chaos all the time. It's stressful. Whether or not you realize it, it's stressful. Whether or not you can kid yourself and say, I thrive on chaos. Most people don't thrive on chaos all the time. Sometimes we have to ride it out, and just like the next few weeks at my home, we're just going to have to ride it out and deal with it. And what happens, happens. But if I had to spend every single day in overdrive, like I am going to for the next 3 weeks, I would die of exhaustion. mentally, emotionally, and physically. Not humans weren't made to go nonstop. We do need times of rest. And where there is order and structure, when you have routine, when you have a clean home, when you have a peaceful home, when the kids are on a good sleeping schedule and a good eating schedule, and you have time to talk to your husband in peace in a nice, clean home, your home is going to be a lot more peaceful and you're going to have a happier life. So let's talk about being a help. Ron cracks me up. Well, that's lacking in my home too. So you poor husbands, because my husband's not getting that either. He said the only thing lacking is her getting up at 3 a.m. to rub my feet and play soothing music on the harp until I fall back into a deep sleep. I think that's lacking in most homes, honestly. So let's talk about being a help in the relationship. Don't be an emotional drain. Rachel, your husband cracks me up. The sense of humor is funny. Don't be an emotional drain on your husband. And this comes in many shapes and many forms. This can take the form of complaining constantly about life, about all the work you have to do, about your kids, about your health, about how tired you are, about your backaches and your headaches and the smog. I don't know. I feel like we've been living with smog this year. It could take the form of complaining. It could take the form of just expecting too much out of him. There is, your husband's going to be more logical than you. He's going to offer you solutions rather than being a great venting partner. Now, if yours loves to hear you vent and loves to hear about how Susie talked bad about Karen, and then Felicia got involved, and then Veronica did too and posted it all over Facebook, and then somehow they tied it all back to you. If he wants to hear you talk about all that, notice I picked really snooty names. So if that's your name, I'm sorry, but that's just what snooty comes to mind when I think of those names. If he likes to hear that, then by all means, let him hear that. But most men really have no interest as far as I've seen. And they're just going to offer you a solution like, okay, well then don't talk to Veronica or whoever started it. Don't talk to Karen. Don't talk to whoever, Felicia, don't talk to them about it then. It's simple in his mind, right? So most men aren't really interested in the drama. Most men are going to try to offer you solutions. That's why when I started homeschooling and I was extremely stressed out of my mind, I knew that my husband and I'm kind of more logical than a lot of women. So I think this way. I'm like, I know my husband has never homeschooled, so he's not even going to understand where I'm coming from. Because when it comes to homeschooling, you really, truly don't understand until you've done it. Like most things in life, right? You don't really, truly understand something until you've gone through it. So I found a venting buddy, and that was Kelly, my friend Kelly Monkowski. And we kept each other alive during those first few hours. Years. We kept each other alive through those first few years. We often joked that we were the only thing holding each other back from jumping off a cliff sometimes because we were so stressed out from figuring out homeschooling and then just juggling 4 or 5 kids at the same time and running the house and being a pastor's wife and all the things that we did. I didn't even teach music back then, not until a couple years into that. So we learned quickly that it was just better for us to go to each other and have that support. And her husband actually thanked my husband one time and said, thank you for allowing Cassandra to be so involved in Kelly's life, because it's helped her so much, because I can't provide the support that she needs because I don't really understand a lot of what she goes through, but Cassandra does. So, and that's true. We need venting buddies in our life that are just going to pat us on the shoulder and let us cry about it and encourage us. And yes, husbands can do that, but they're going to also want to fix the problem for you. And so they're going to want to try to offer logical solutions, and they're not going to understand if you tell them, I just wanted to vent. That's it. And sometimes I will vent to my husband, but I will tell him, I'll give him a disclaimer. I'll say, okay, I just want to vent. Just listen and just feel sorry for me. So that's what I'll tell him. I want to vent. Just listen and feel sorry for me. And then he knows. Men aren't a mystery. I don't think men are a mystery. Oh, these stupid shows. Like, okay, one of the shows that drives me the most nuts, I actually like this movie, but it drives me nuts at the same time. Pride and Prejudice. The main character, who is it, like Darby or something? Darby, that she falls in love with. He literally, I can't even stand that type of personality. I don't see what's romantic about it. He's dark, brooding, supposed to be handsome. I don't even think he's that handsome. He's dark and brooding and mysterious. That is, for me personally, I don't like that. I don't like it when a man, Darcy, that's it. I don't like it when a man is dark and brooding and mysterious. Just tell me what you're thinking. Just, do you like me? Tell me that you like me. Don't make me guess it. You want to do this for a date? Let's go do this for a date. Don't make me guess it. So I can't believe I didn't remember Darcy. See, I coherent. It's gone. Everything is gone right now. I need to be like downloaded. After this wedding, I need someone to just put a disc into my head and download all this information that's completely gone out of my head right now. Because it's not there. It's gone. I can't even think of Darcy's name. Oh, my stars. So yeah, they're not a mystery. They're not like Darcy. They like physical attention, food, and companionship. There you go. If you want to figure out most men, they like physical attention, food, and companionship. You can get creative if you want to go a date and figure out. Don't wait on him to do everything. Don't you be mysterious. And well, if you really knew me, you would know. Just tell him. You know what? Have your husband tell you, what do you want to do for a date? Let's go do it. Maybe you're the type that, I don't know, I left this in the dust a long time ago. I feel like real life is so much better than just all this made up fairy tale nonsense of mysterious and foreboding and dark. And just tell each other what you want. It's called communication. It's not that difficult. People make it more difficult than it needs to be. So you have his back when no one else does. Be his biggest cheerleader. You want to be a help to him? Be his biggest cheerleader. Don't be a drain. Don't be an emotional drain. Don't be berating him constantly. Don't be nagging him constantly. Bring up concerns, but not constantly. Save it for a legit concern. Sometimes you're going to go through patches in your life where maybe he is backsliding a little bit, or maybe you're backsliding a little bit, and you both need to hold each other accountable, and you need to talk to each other and say, listen, I've noticed this is going on. I don't really appreciate it. I'm really concerned about it. Can we fix this? Can you fix this? And, maybe he'll say, I've noticed this with you. Don't do this, please. And so you do it, or you don't do it. So being a help in general, let him work and have his job. Don't make him feel guilty for working. That's what he was made to do. He has to provide the bills because the Bible says that he who doesn't provide is worse than an infidel. Beth, if you want to find that verse, you can put it in the chat. But yeah, it talks very, very negatively against men who are not providing for their homes. So the man has a huge responsibility. Don't make him feel guilty when he has to do his job and he has work to do. Just remember the curse in the garden. Men were designed to work every single day, and they were designed to work hard. Let him have his space and don't smother him. I know for mine, I think it would drive him nuts if I was texting him constantly, calling him constantly, demanding his time, demanding his attention, demanding that he hurry up and get home because I need you all to myself. Now, there will be times when there will be different seasons, and mine has been very understanding in those difficult seasons. When I had Hannah, I had very, very, very bad postpartum depression and anxiety. And I would say anxiety. I had anxiety attacks after her. And there would be sometimes, I had her in the winter, of course, and then it was super dark, super early. He usually has a basic timeline of when he does things at the church and when he's home. Well, a couple times during those times, I texted him and said, I really, really need you today. Can you please come home? And he did. But those times are very rare. And it only happened in that postpartum season. So there will be different postpartum seasons. And I think if you are balanced 98% of the time, your husband is going to understand the special times when you do need him to be present. And most men, if they're good men, they're going to realize that and they're going to be present for you. So you are not a victim if your husband has to have a physically demanding job. You're not. It's called life. It's called reality. When we were first married, I had a really hard time adjusting to this because, well, first off, we didn't have any kids, obviously, until 9 months after we were married. Actually, 9 months to the day, which is funny. But those first 9 months, I would stay up really late because I didn't have any kids. I wasn't really tired. We had a tiny apartment. It didn't take much to clean it. I would stay up late reading. And then he would be getting up at 2:30 in the morning to go to work. So I would sleep till 9, because I didn't have anything else to do, piddle around during the day. And then he would get home and he would be exhausted. He'd be home 1:30, something like that in the afternoon. By 7 o'clock, he was ready to go to bed. Now, remember, I had been up super late, so I was not even winding down at 7 o'clock. And I would get kind of a bad attitude about it. Like, oh, he only spent 4 or 5 hours with me today. What's wrong? It's called life. It was okay. He needed to go to bed early because he was working a physically demanding job in order to pay the bills. And I had to learn to adjust to that. So I started going to bed with him at the times he would. I'd be in bed and sleep by 8 or 9. And then I would try to get up 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, just so I would be tired again by that time at night. So I had to readjust around that. But he worked long and he worked a lot. He worked full-time hours at Walmart. And then almost every night there was also a church activity. So a lot of times he might leave at 4 in the afternoon, 5 in the afternoon, and be gone till 7 or 8, come home, go to bed. So I had to learn that it was just a season. And I had to learn to have my own hobbies and have my own interests because I could not be after him constantly. He was working towards a bachelor's in theology. He was working part-time at the church. So they would have Thursday night soul winning. They would have like Tuesday night Bible college classes. He would have Saturday bus visitation. So he usually Friday activity with the teens. Some of those things I could go with him, some I could not. And so I had to learn to just be content and to find my own hobbies and my own interests. Of course, once I started having kids, then that was not a big deal. And I had my hands full. But in those first couple of years, there was adjustments that I had to make. So yeah, I definitely, Sarah said matching his schedule has been the best thing for our marriage. I think if you can, it would be best to match his schedule. And if you're not able to, just don't nag him to death. Don't, make him feel guilty for providing for you because that's his job. So thank you. Thank you, Beth, for putting that. She said, she put down 1 Timothy 5:8, but if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Infidel, worse than an infidel. The Bible speaks very strongly about that. So if you make him feel awful for working long days, it's just going to make his job that much harder. The number 5, take initiative and plan time together. So when we were younger, like I said, he was gone every single night. So I planned our time very carefully. Men and women, this is my personal opinion. I personally believe men and women weren't designed to be with each other 24/7. That's just how I feel about it. We both need our space. Maybe it is because I have a little bit more independent personality, I guess, but I would feel smothered if he was around all the time. I would feel like I could not get my stuff done. So this is what I have done now. This is our schedule now, and it works for us. I work completely around his schedule. His schedule has become my schedule because that's how it rolls in our house. I follow his lead. So I only do piano lessons around the time that he is working at the church. And I don't do any evenings. I did for a little bit. I figured out real fast I didn't like that. It didn't work. I don't like when he is home in my home. I want to be with him. I want to be around him. I want to be able to, sometimes he needs my help with a project. I want to be available. So from 9 to 3:30 is when I keep all of my piano lessons, if I have any, throughout the day. And then, Saturdays, I don't teach at all. Those are free for soul winning or doing whatever he needs to do. That's usually when we have a date. My evenings, it's when we have our hobbies together. And we like to work out together. We like to go to the gym together. That's kind of our thing we do together. And it really keeps us connected throughout the busy week. Even if we only have that hour where we pretty much just drive there. And then I kind of do my own thing there and he kind of does his own thing there. But it's nice to just drive there, talk on the way there, talk on the way back. We have our evenings together. I try to, I'm not always great at this, go to bed at the same time as him. So I work my schedule around him because that's important to me. So we have fun hobbies that we do today, especially after the kids are older. I realize that a lot of what I do right now, you younger moms can't do, but this is an encouragement. It's coming. Okay. It will be here eventually. When I was younger, I've always liked to work out. That's just, I need to be physically active, especially with sitting around teaching a lot, sitting around doing piano. I need to do physical activity. Otherwise, I would weigh 500 pounds probably. So I've always liked to work out. So when I was younger and we had younger kids and I wasn't able to both of us leave together, I was a member of Curves. It's an all-woman gym. I would go in the morning when he was still sleeping. So like 5:36, I would go, and 3 times a week I would work out. And that really helped me mentally and physically and everything. So, but let him have his hobbies too. I think every man needs a hobby. My husband loves kayaking. And it's really good for him to just go out on the river and be alone with his thoughts and nature and all that. He loves chopping down trees. It's like, whoever's seen that meme, hey, honey, we have people coming over in 30 minutes. Can you help? And sure, babe, be right back after I go chop down that tree in the far corner of the yard that no one ever sees. That's exactly my husband. He was just saying, we're having a Labor Day picnic at our church the Saturday before Labor Day. And he was just saying, how in the world am I going to get all the yard work done before everyone gets here? So he's like already concerned. I'm like, what yard work? Chopping down more trees? I don't know. That's probably what the yard work he's thinking of. He sees a tree that needs to be chopped down. But yes, let him be him. Let your husband be your husband. Don't try to change him. Don't try to, I've said it so many times during this, stop nagging him. Stop expecting him to be something he's not. How would you feel if he was that way with you? If he was constantly trying to change your personality and your little quirks and whatever you do? Realize that he is unique and get to know him. He is your husband. No other man in the world matters. And let me say this very slowly. You don't have to submit to or please any other man alive. And that's even becoming a unpopular statement, even in the Baptist world, which is ridiculous because the Bible plainly says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, not wives, submit yourself to every man alive. So your husband is the only man you need to please. If some other guy doesn't like you, oh, well, that's their problem, not yours. You don't have to change yourself for any other man. Now, if your husband has a legitimate concern and wants to see maybe improvement in some area of your life, then by all means, try to do it. Just like you would expect him trying to improve for you, in a problem area that maybe you had. So, let's see. Focus on the physical relationship. And I'm going to touch on this in a very pure way because I do think that we need, even when it comes to this, you don't share intimate details of your life with other women. I think this is something that needs to be private. But I do think that this generation is forgetting this very important aspect of marriage, and it's not being taught by the older women to the younger women. This is a very important area of marriage. Do not frustrate your husband in this. The Bible is very clear about not withholding from your husband. And the thing is, too, both of you it's the same way with both of you. He shouldn't withhold from you and you shouldn't withhold from him. It goes both ways. So the rule is basically, the marriage bed is pure and undefiled. Beth, you can put that if you can find it. If it's not sin or going against the Bible, it's okay. It's okay if it's not sin. Things that are not okay, and I'm not going to do this whole big checklist where, okay, this is okay, kissing's okay, but this kind of kissing isn't okay. That's not my place to say that. But if the Bible specifically says it's wrong, don't do it. That would be adultery. Obviously, bringing anyone else or bringing other people into the physical relationship, which I think also, this is my personal opinion, involves pornography. Pornography is also linked to child human trafficking or human trafficking in general, which is wrong. And we all know that's wrong. So I believe any of those things, bringing any of those into your marriage, those would be sins. Anything else, you're going to have to use discernment and follow leading of the Holy Spirit. And that's up to you and your husband. Figure out your husband and love him freely and give yourself often. You are the only one for your husband. He is the only one for you. So you need to make this a very high priority on your list. Plan getaways. You as the wife, it doesn't have to be the guy planning it all the time. You as the wife plan it. I think most men would appreciate it if their wife planned a little getaway for them. And then realize there will be seasons, so plan accordingly. Like I talked about this earlier, there are going to be different seasons. There are going to be postpartum seasons. There's going to be pregnancy seasons. Obviously, if you have a kind, understanding husband, he's going to understand that. He's going to get that. And he's not going to put undue pressure on you if he truly loves you. But just realize that they're coming up, and maybe mentally prepare for it. Listen to his wishes with family planning. Okay, so I know this is also something that's kind of taboo to talk about, but I've known a lot of wives that have listened to a sermon from someone not their husband. And this, it could be anyone, on the internet, someone from a different church, someone from a church that they know. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just another pastor. And maybe he makes up or he declares something that's not even necessarily found in the Bible. He declares something that goes against what your husband wishes for your family. You don't listen to the preacher that said something that's not in the Bible. I'm not talking about things that biblically go against God's word, such as killing an innocent life, using birth control methods that can abort a baby. I'm not talking about those, but there are other methods, and I'm not going to get into that. So you're listening to this other guy over your husband there, and you're putting that man's authority over that of your husband's. I've always said, we've had this question asked a lot in the Gently Led Sisters group about natural family planning, about charting your cycles. And I have said from the day one of having this channel that is up to every individual husband and his wife. You have to decide. You will stand before God and you alone. A preacher will not stand and testify for what you did in your home with your family. So you will stand before God and you will give account for what you did. And I believe as long as it's not morally wrong, such as aborting a fertilized egg or killing an innocent baby, if that's not morally wrong, God designed our bodies in such a way that we are able to tell what's going on. And I think he did that for a reason. We also see instances in the Bible where women knew their cycles enough that they knew what times to go in unto their husband. And I think that's an art that has been lost. We are not passing that down to our daughters. It's very simple anatomy and biology and cycles, and it's very simple science, and we're not teaching our daughters. So I think we are made the way we are made for a reason. So you follow your husband's wishes with family planning, as long as it doesn't go against Bible commands, as long as it's not murdering an innocent baby. So trust his leadership. Don't be a dripping faucet. We have the verse in the Bible that talks about being a dripping faucet. Don't be a dripping faucet. That's just drip, drip, constant, nag, 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 nag. Don't second guess every decision he makes. Are you sure about this? Are you sure? Even if you don't agree, it's ultimately his decision and his responsibility. Whether that comes to a big purchase, whether that comes to, just wanting to upgrade a home or a vehicle or whatever, a job switch. Ultimately, it's his decision. When you're right, you can say, I told you so. Actually, no, that might make it worse because men know when they messed up. You don't even have to tell them. Men know when they messed you up when they messed up, and the last thing they want to hear is, I told you so. I think they know. And then like every time that happens, you don't even have to tell him. He just knows you were right. So that's going to like increase his faith in your ability to tell the future the next time, right? That's just going to increase his faith in you. So thank you, Beth. She said, Proverbs 27:15, a continual dropping in a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike. Got to get the words right. Can't even read. So talk good about him to others. That's a way that you can be a help to him. A lot of people's persona is based off of what you say about him. No one knows your husband like you. And no one knows your husband's faults like you. You don't need to share those with the whole world. So love him for who he is, faults and all, because you have them too. You have faults too. So appreciate the man that you have. Don't nag, don't belittle. A wife's words have power. Talk him up to him. I'm like, what did I put that? Talk him up to him. Yeah. Tell him, hey, babe, you're looking really good today. Hey, thanks for, taking me on that date. Hey, with mine, it's, I really liked your sermon. And I'm not one to just like shower this flattery if it's not like, if he gets up there and preaches a dud, which there's been some, and he'll tell you there's been some that haven't been the most stellar sermons. I'm not going to like shower him, baby. That was so amazing. That was so good. So the thing is, when I tell him that was a really good sermon, he knows it was a really good sermon because I'm not one to just like shower the compliments when they're not true. Think before rashly speaking, because men aren't robots and they are going to remember. They're going to remember when you say harmful things, just like you remember every harmful thing that your husband's ever said. Thank God for him. Thank God for him in your prayers at night. When you wake up, thank him that he's such a good provider, and thank your husband. Thank you for being such a good provider. Thank you for making my home a nice place to live. Thank you for, giving me this budget every week for all these food and all this grocery for all these kids. Thank you for giving me all these kids. My husband had a part in our children. My husband had a part in the decision to have a big family. Obviously, my husband had a huge part in that. I've gotten pregnant 10 times. So when we first got married, we both wanted 10 kids. So I feel like we've reached that goal. We have 8 living and 2 in heaven. So I feel like we've accomplished that, but he had a huge part in that. So thank him for all the hard work that he does for your huge family. It takes a lot of work. And then the last thing is just be happy. That's the biggest help to your husband. Just be happy, be content, smile, laugh, be the woman he fell in love with. We all change over the years. I am completely different. I've become a little more sassy and a little more bold, but also a little more reserved in how I say things, when I say things, who I say things to. So I've become a little more wise in the last 22 years. But I've also got a little bit of that Cassandra that he fell in love with, and she comes shining through sometimes. So let him be him without fear of repercussion of what you're going to do. You're going to be nagging him. You're going to be like the rolled eyes, like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe you did that. Especially I've seen wives like their husband, and I love physical touch. So I love it if he would play with my hair or put his arm around me. And I've seen wives that they're mad or something, and the husband will put the arm and they'll just like shake it off and like, give a disgusted look in front of the whole church. I'm like, wow, make it obvious, right? So that speaks volumes. Your actions, the way you interact with him, the way you look at him. And a lot of times people form their opinions of your husband based off your interaction with him. So if you're just mean and nasty all the time and shooting him dirty looks and rolling your eyes at him and you have no respect for him, do you really think anyone else is going to respect him? Honestly. So don't smother him. Don't mother him. I've even said sometimes to my husband, I'm not your mom. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Do you want me to mother you? Do you want me to hang over you and helicopter mother you? And no, he doesn't want that. So I let him lead and take responsibility for those actions. One of the biggest ones in our life was when he decided to do the church plant. I knew that he was called into ministry. I did not know we would eventually be planting a church. He had always said he never wanted to do that. So he was assistant pastor for 10 years. And when he felt the tugging, we were actually here for a funeral of my aunts in this town. My mom grew up in this area. I was born in Dixon, only 15 minutes from here. And he really felt the tugging on the Holy Spirit. And he got home, he looked up IFB churches in this area, and there were none, like zero. And the closest one is Amboy, Pastor Fritz's church, Pastor Rocky Fritz. And so he decided that we would come out here with just our family and we would start the church. And I was 100% behind that. It was sad. It was sad leaving the life that we knew. It was sad leaving a little school that we had. I loved having my kids in there. It was just a little volunteer run ACE school only for members, kids of the church. They had their friends. The kids were just as much a part of this as we were. And it was a little scary because for a good 3 months, he didn't have a job. And that is the one time in our life where we had to rely on government assistance because he was without a job and he was looking every day. Finally got on at Walmart, and looking back, I don't think I had any idea of how hard it was going to be. But looking back, now that I know how hard it is, and it was, I would do it again because I completely trust him and have faith in him. And I know he's not going to do anything that would harm our family. He's not going to do anything that would destroy our family. And through it all, it's been a huge learning experience for all of us. And we have our entire family, from my oldest son down to Allie, who we had 5, all my kids. It's been blood, sweat, and tears that we've poured into this place. And I think it's made them appreciate it because they've seen the hard work, and ministry is hard. It is. My husband was talking about it yesterday. He did a really good sermon last night talking about how ministry is a calling, and it's just as much a calling on the wife. You're not called to be the pastor or the pastor's wife, but you have to believe in the calling. And you have to stand behind your man, and you have to support him, and you have to be there to encourage him because sometimes he's going to want to throw in the towel, and you have to say, let's keep going. And he's going to need to hear that from you. And it could be that way with any job, not even ministry. It could be that way with life. It could be that way with living the Christian life. It could be that way with going to church. Sometimes there's going to be battles in church, and you can't be the type that just rolls over every time you see conflict or drama. There's going to be drama. Where there's people, there's going to be drama. And you have to be the one to encourage your husband. No, babe, let's do it. We can keep going. But if you're constantly nagging and complaining and unhappy and discontent, he will eventually cave and he will give in. And he just wants you to be happy. So just be happy. The biggest help that you can be to your husband is just be happy. That's all rolled into a nutshell right there. Just be happy. If I could say one thing to all of you women, just be happy. I don't know why that's so hard nowadays, but it's so hard for women to just be happy. And I don't know if it's social media. I don't know what it is, but love your life, love your husband, love your kids, love the house that God has given you, love your church, love your friends, and just be happy. That's all I've got. And hopefully that was coherent enough for you guys. Okay. So yeah, law of kindness. I'm dying. It's really hot in here. My husband has the air off. I think you can actually see it. No, you can't really, but I'm sweating. I'm sweating. I am dying in here. It's really, really hot. It's supposed to be 103 or something on Wednesday. Craziness. I'm like, this is Illinois. What? My hair is frizzy. I've got this part over here that keeps popping out. Look at that. It's just frizz. It's hot. Ooh, it's hot. So hope you all enjoy this week, survive this week of the heat wave, and we will see you guys next